Rings of Power Season 1 is over, and the reception for the show was not great. There's a lot of talk about the first 2 episodes of the show and how great those were with ratings, and then after that, there's been nothing but silence. I wonder why that is. The breaking of canon has been this show's biggest problem, and it's funny. The showrunners spent a lot of time talking about how they're going to stay true to canon, and then here's an inverse article talking about the biggest change to canon, which was, of course, the fact that apparently the elven rings were forged first when they were supposed to be forged last, at least according to this article. But that's not what I want to focus on. What I want to focus on is where the show is at, and a rumor from Film Threat's Chris Gore that makes a lot of sense. So as you know, I did a video on this. Rings of Power is already dethroned on Amazon. A show that should stay at number 1 for a little bit longer because it's so popular and loved, right? So it should be at number 1 forever. But no, it was dethroned by The Peripheral. So you've got this show at number 1 now. Then you've got Rings of Power, but you've still got Reacher, Northman, Terminalist. Now, Terminalist and the Northman, or Terminalist and Reacher being up there is kind of surprising. Those shows have been over for a while, but they're still up there at the top. That's pretty damn impressive. Rings of Power quickly fading for Amazon Prime. And I'm not shocked by that. The show's boring. It's an awful show. Awful, awful show. And now we seem to have some confirmation that Amazon knows the show is awful, and they want to make some changes. So this rumor, covered by Bounding into Comics, comes from Chris Gore over at Film Threat. Great channel. Great dude. I like Chris Gore. And he's claiming that the showrunners of the show are going to be sidelined. They're going to be kept around, but they're not going to have so much control. They're going to be more in the writer's room, but less so in the front of the production. And that's because the show that they made is shit. This is the problem. And I don't really get why Hollywood does this. Like, why do they grab these people that have no experience and put them on huge properties, big money? It just doesn't make any sense. You think you would get somebody a little bit more seasoned, but nothing in Hollywood makes sense anymore. None of it. Look at Star Wars. Damon Lindelof coming in there and working on that. More failing up. You either fail, once you're in, it's a golden ticket because you'll just keep getting work, especially if you're hyper political. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Hollywood is a fail upward. It's a fail upward environment because you put out a show that's shit. Nobody watched it. That's okay. Do you have the right political beliefs? Oh, you're in. Oh, you made a show about racisms. You're in, and you'll get more work. It's funny. It's a big problem in the comic book industry. That's where the greatest example of it is, because you see these people put these books out that just fail over and over and over again, and they're like, "Wow, you sold 10,000 copies. Here's Spider-Man. Let's see what you can do with him." It doesn't make any sense. It's bad business. These people fail upwards. You don't have to be successful to be successful in Hollywood. You just need to have the right politics and rub the right elbows. You're in. So, rumor, Amazon to retool The Lord of the Rings of Power sideline current showrunners after first season was more of a failure than they could have anticipated. With Amazon's live-action bastardization of J.R.R. Tolkien's fantasy works having underperformed by particularly every metric, a new rumor suggests that the company will be retooling The Lord of the Rings of Power for its second season, starting with sidelining its current showrunners. Now, this came from a Midnight's Edge stream. That's where this is coming from. I like those guys, too, good dudes. Chris Gore knows the film industry, knows people in the film industry. So I tend to believe what he's saying here. But it is a rumor. It is a rumor. So when he was asked about this on Midnight's Edge for their live stream, this is what Gore had to say about, does the industry see this show as a success? Does his peers in the industry see this show as a success? Gore said not only were his industry contacts unimpressed with season 1, but the reception to it was so generally abysmal that Amazon has set out course to correct for season 2. I've heard from someone who has a connect at Amazon that if you want to know, effectively, they are going to be retooling, he explained. And the showrunners are more than likely, they're not going to be publicly fired, but their role will be reduced. Potentially just remaining in the writer's room, he added. But my understanding is they are looking for more experienced showrunners. So they're going to keep them around, let them have some work in the writer's room, and bring on some people that can run this better, which would be nice. The pacing is awful in this show. They say a lot and do little. It's just a boring show. And I'm not even a hardcore Tolkien fan. Like I've said before, I'm a huge fan of the movies. I have the Hobbit trilogy and the Lord of the Rings trilogy on 4K Blu-ray. I've watched them a couple of times since I've got them, and they came out this year. I love those movies. If this could have been an entertaining show, I would have been happy with it. I'm not huge into Tolkien canon. There's a lot of people are, and they are great at what they do. If the show would have been good, I would have liked it. But the show is bad. It's boring. It's a boring show. One of the worst shows I think I've ever seen. This is what makes this so funny. And it's great to see it go up against a show like House of the Dragon, which is a much more entertaining show. The difference in how that show is edited and cut compared to this show is night and day. So he added to this and said that the Amazon is well aware of the problems before noting that while there's what they publicly say, there's also what they're actually doing behind the scenes. And what they're doing behind the scenes, he then asserted, is they are freaking out that this was more a failure than they could have anticipated. As to what has caused the company higher-ups to stir up and get their act together, Gore speculated that there were 3 key reasons for this change. The quality of the show, and why am I still watching this? And this is sleep-inducing. And then the second reason is that there's only a few people that like it. And the third reason is that House of the Dragon is just a much better show, and it shows. So, interesting stuff. I do want to know how this is going to work out. Am I going to watch season 2? Probably not. Unless everybody turns around and says that it's an amazing show now. So great. They really just fixed it up, and now it's a good show. Maybe I would tune in, but I got to say, those first 4 episodes that I watched were some of the worst television I've ever seen in my life, and it would take a lot for me to come back. I mean, when he talks about sleep-inducing down here, I didn't cover it, but I saw some other videos that did. Like somebody that works at Amazon and had to watch this show for something. I don't remember the details. Talked about they fell asleep watching the show. That's not something that you want to say. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think. Also, if you would please like, subscribe, share the video, check out my Rumble and Locals, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace. Make sure to check out my Locals. There's a link in the description. It's a fun community that I'm trying to build over here. If you don't want to support me on YouTube, you can come over here. None of that money goes to YouTube. You also can just come over here for free. But if you are a supporter over here, I do plan on doing an extra live stream once a month and throwing links to the supporters so you can actually come on and have a supporter live stream with me. Also, it's a good place to catch all of my content. You don't have to worry about notifications like YouTube. They'll definitely work over here. So come check out my Locals.